Great crowd. Great crowd.
Your big truck.
Yeah.
Everybody get your coffee, and it's my pleasure to introduce our speaker, Ken Green. Ken Green grew up on Chicago's north side in the Humboldt Park area. He went to Roosevelt. He didn't have a stellar academic experience there. In fact, he tells me he was expelled his sophomore year. He did make it back and eventually graduated, barely. After high school, he went to Korea, and then he made a comeback. He graduated from college. He became a teacher in the Los Angeles system, and then went to night law school and became an attorney. Then went to work for the Public Defender's Office. He worked there for 30 years and became Chief Public Defender for Los Angeles County. He also was an amateur boxer, and for 30 years worked with boxers and is currently in the California Boxing Hall of Fame. I've just been told he's going to be on Comcast cable TV on a show called Contempo in November, so look for that. And he's going to be on WGN TV at 11:30 on Wednesday.
That's changed.
That's changed? Okay.
A future date.
A future date. It'll be a future date. In any event, let's introduce Ken Green.
Thank you, Rick. Thank you, Rick, for that kind introduction. The mic good?
Yep.
I'm Yisrael Chai. Before I begin the program, I would like to introduce a few people. First, my beautiful wife, Maureen. She's a district attorney in Los Angeles. She specializes in murder cases, and she has taken a lot of killers off the street. My wonderful publicist, Dorothy Weinberg, and her husband, Bert. And a man I just met tonight, we were corresponding through email. I got an email from this guy about 2 months ago. He said, I read your book, I loved it, I'm from your neighborhood. When you're in town, you're coming over for dinner. What a mensch, Ed Douglas over here. Well, this is a very nice crowd. I'm honored that you're here. And let me tell you a little bit about why I wrote this book. Anybody here from Humboldt Park, by the way? Oh my God. All right, so I better get it all right. Anybody from Division Street?
Close.
Where?
Crystal.
Where?
Crystal.
Crystal?
Oh, no. Potomac.
I lived on Potomac and Evergreen. That's where I was. Potomac and Rockwell. Who else? Okay, so let me tell you why I wrote the book. After my mother died, I was looking through her belongings, and I came across some old scrapbooks, newspaper articles, memorabilia, and I was stunned to find out how many great Jews lived on Division Street. I'm going to tell you their names, and if you don't know it now, you will be blown away from Division Street. Some of them lived just blocks from where I lived. How about this one? Barney Ross, one of the greatest Jewish boxers that ever lived on my street. Pardon?
Wasn't Rosovsky his name before he changed it?
Boy, you're good. That I didn't know. He was the 3-time world champion. He was a war hero in World War II. How about this one? Benny Goodman, the great band leader, Division Street. Saul Bellow, prolific author, Pulitzer Prize winner. Studs Terkel, Pulitzer Prize winner. Art Patak, crime reporter, Pulitzer Prize. These are some great Jews, huh? Sherman Block, Do you remember the little deli on Division and Spalding called Itzkovitz?
Yes.
He owned it at one time. And he sold it, and he moved to California. He became the sheriff of Los Angeles County, one of the most powerful politicians in California. Another great Yid. Ben Hecht, the great director. Carl Foreman, producer. Michael Todd, married Elizabeth Taylor, the great producer. Jackie Leonard, the comedian. My father called him by a street name, Fat Slavinsky. Jules Stein established the Jules Stein Eye Clinic at UCLA. Mickey Rotner, Basketball Hall of Fame. These Jews, their parents, came from Eastern Europe with no money and no education, and look what these people did. Astounding. And so I decided that I want to write a book. I want to write a book about how proud I am to have come from this street because it shaped my life. And I want to pay tribute to these great men. In addition to that, I grew up with some very great men. Also came from humble beginnings. Some of them, they came from extreme poverty. Let me give you a thumbnail about them. One of them was Freddie Rosen, a tough Jew. I grew up with a lot of anti-Semitism. I heard dirty Jew, sheeny, kike, he, more times than I could count. If somebody said that to Freddie Rosen, no mercy. One tough Jew. His father owned a little liquor store on North Avenue. It was the size of a pantry. And Freddie grew it into the largest retail wine businesses in the world. I had another friend, an attorney, now famous. He was an orphan at the age of 16. He lived with his father in a tiny apartment on Division in Rockwell, size of a closet. Became a famous lawyer, Al Becker. Al Ackerman, one of the 10 best criminal lawyers in Chicago, one of the lawyers on Blagojevich, argued before the United States Supreme Court. Some of his briefs have made new law. He's a member of Super Lawyers. It's incredible what these guys did. How about this one? Jerry Starkman grew up without a father. He lived with his mother in a tiny one-bedroom apartment. They were so poor, they took in boarders, and the boarders lived in the living room. He's a multimillionaire, entrepreneur. He owns Mustard's Last Stand, by the way, at Northwestern University. Another guy, he lived above a candy store. His mother was on welfare. He became a producer. He conceived one of the greatest documentaries of all time, according to Siskel and Ebert in Time magazine, Hoop Dreams. It's incredible, isn't it? So I was very proud to grow up in the street, and I pay tribute to the men who came before me and the men I grew up with, and this neighborhood shaped my life. So I decided I'm going to write a book. There was one other reason that I decided to write this book, in addition to paying tribute to these great people. It was my hope that I can inspire young children who lack self-esteem